Yo, people, welcome back for another week. Another week. But before we go on to what happened this week, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, add the Instagram. We signed up to Twitter recently as well, innit?
Mm-hmm.
See, all the links are in the description below. You know where to do the stuff, man. But yeah, man. Let's start off with the Champions League. You know, obviously the biggest competition in club football. But let's go from worst to best. So the worst game, not even trying to be disrespectful, but the worst game was the Liverpool Leipzig one. Obviously, Liverpool scored from two mistakes. I didn't watch the game, so I'm probably not best first. Wait, who watched the game out of all of us?
I think everyone was watching the
For
I think
real,
everyone was
for
watching
real,
the
man.
main game.
Yeah, not really cared, but
So
yeah.
in
Or
the
you
bit
can
I
start then.
heard, actually, it wasn't actually a bad game as a lot of people think. Like compared to quality, because I feel like in Barcelona PSG game, the Barcelona defending was quite horrific. But in the Leipzig and Liverpool game, I think it was actually like a proper game in terms of quality. Obviously, there were a few mistakes here and there, but from the little I could put together, it was actually like a game of standard quality. But yeah, I didn't watch it, so I don't think I'm best.
I mean, from what I saw, it was end-to-end stuff, but there weren't that many chances. If that makes sense, like there were a lot of openings, but no one really took many shots off. I think Nkunku had a big chance just after the break. But yeah, Liverpool did well. They were pressing again. They were closing down. They forced, I think, Upamecano into a mistake.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's a good win for them.
Mukiele, don't tarnish my brother's name. It's Mukiele.
Exactly. That's what the commentator did as well.
But they did force not maybe not the mistake he's talking about, but they did force Upamecano to some mistakes during the game because he didn't have a very solid game. Honestly, I think there was a time that there was a ball by the byline that they were wondering whether it go out or not. But before that build up, Upamecano didn't seem very solid defensively. But one of those games.
Yeah, sorry, continue. What are you saying?
No, I mean, we're talking about this obviously after the Everton result, but I mean, it means that they can obviously shift their focus and maybe obviously focus on the Champions League. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens in the second leg. They're not going to be at home, so Leipzig has still got a chance, definitely.
Yeah, so actually continuing from that, obviously, what do you think will happen in the second leg? Obviously, the second leg is next month. But as Sarah was saying, there's no Anfield, no crowd. Do we think there's a sneaky chance Leipzig can do something, or are Liverpool in cruise control now? Denzel.
It's Champions League football, so you can never really be in cruise control with a 2-goal lead. I think it's possible that Leipzig could come back with the leaky defense that Liverpool have at the moment. And obviously Anfield, it's not a fortress anymore, like people say, but that's probably due to having no fans. So yeah, Leipzig can come back into the tie. I think it's possible, yeah.
Dan?
I don't know. I think the 2 away goals is a big advantage. So, and Liverpool they've been pretty poor defensively, but I think they'll probably go through because them 2 away goals are massive. And I just trust that. Obviously, in recent years, they've been solid, especially at Anfield. Obviously, they've gone for a blip, but in a month's time, we don't know where they'll be because all it takes is a couple of results to change everything this year. So for all we know, they could be riding high of 3 or 4 wins in a month's time and be looking confident. So I'd still back Liverpool to go through.
Yeah, all right. How do you see the second leg going? Or
Yeah. Obviously it's the Champions League, so anything could happen, like Denzel said. But I do think Liverpool are through. Yeah, like Dan said, the 2 away goals are just to, and I see obviously Liverpool scoring as well. So, you'd have to think that they'd have to score if Liverpool score, they'd have to score 3 goals before they go through. And despite how bad Liverpool's defense are currently, I don't really see Leipzig putting 3 past it, but anything could happen. In terms of Liverpool's Champions League hopes, I actually do think it's possible. Actually, I'm not sure if I mentioned it earlier in the podcast, and I know that their form in the Premier League is quite bad, but I feel like to some extent, the Champions League is kind of easier to handle sometimes than the Premier League. So I actually do, possibly see them, going far in the competition. But I guess we just have to see.
What about you, Sarah? What's your thoughts?
I mean, I feel like we're all expecting Liverpool to go on a run in the Premier League, go 5-6 games winning, which I think we all expect will happen maybe. I think even with the defence and Henderson now being out, you'd still back them to score a goal, at least a goal with that attack. I think it would be end to end, but yeah, I think, it's going to be tough for that to score, possibly needing more than 2 goals to even have a chance. Yeah.
Well, Leipzig don't even have like a very good goal scorer as well, innit?
No, I mean, they rotate a lot between like Force 9, Danny Olmo, Paulson. And their formations always shift as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But they
it's
played
going to
well
be
on
a
the
bit too
weekend,
hard.
so they played well on the weekend.
3-0, isn't it? They won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
The 2
decent.
points of Bayern now, so that's quite good.
I think the fact that they don't have a consistent goal scorer is gonna hurt them. I think, but
It's
the
hurt
goals are
them,
spread
yeah.
out in the team, though. I know that, but
Yeah.
second
It is going
game,
to happen.
second game that we're moving on to, Porto Juventus. I knew Porto would cause Juventus issue. I didn't expect them to beat them, but still. But what's our thoughts on this? CR7 masterclass in the second leg, or Porto should shut them out? Obviously, the fanboy at the bottom saying, yeah, but yeah, what are you saying about that one, Denzel?
Obviously, his inevitable for CR7 masterclass to rescue Juventus. That's what I see happening. I didn't watch the game, to be honest, so I don't think I could speak on it too much. But we know Ronaldo's UCL record. We've seen him go down and come back in the second leg multiple times. It's just what he does. So don't be surprised if you see a CR7 masterclass. We know that the other guy is not getting through, so we'll see.
Yeah, Sarah, what's your thoughts on the dynamics of the tie? Where do you see it swinging in the second leg?
I think it's finally poised. I mean, I didn't watch the game either, to be honest, that much. I think I only watched like 10 minutes, but towards the end, I think Juve were really piling on the pressure. And Porto, they needed that, I think, to go into the second leg. We saw last year as well, I think Juve struggled against Lyon. So you never know. But I think we're going to have to back Juve in this case. I mean, I think they improved a lot in the last 20 minutes of that game. And they'll be at home. So.
Dan?
I think in the prediction, I said that I think Juve will win 6-1 on aggregate. So that could prove to be a howler. But I don't know. The first leg, the 2 goals that Porto scored came from poor defending, really poor defending. And Juve it looked like they were almost complacent. It looked like they almost thought we can just turn up and beat these guys. But Porto have, obviously they've got the advantage. So I still think that Juve will go through. And I think it is definitely set up for Ronaldo to score 2 or 3 and send Juve through, and they'll struggle next round if they go through anyway.
All right, what about you, Ariel?
I actually did watch a huge chunk of the game, maybe just missed a few minutes. There's no creativity in the lineup that Pirlo put out in the midfield. So that was quiet. They play with the 4-4-2. So, it's kind of hard when you're not putting in players, because they didn't start Ramsey. And the midfield, they started Rabiot and I think Bednarka. And I think it wasn't a very creative midfield. Then I feel like they should have started Morata as well, because Ronaldo really knows how to play off Morata. And I feel like Ronaldo does play better when Morata does play. And Morata has a very good Champions League record this season. I think he's even one of the highest goal scorers. So it was kind of surprising that Pirlo didn't start him. I feel there would have been a chance for Porto, but with that away goal, I think, the chances are very slim. They'd have to score, in the reverse fixture before, anything could possibly happen, because I do see, Ronaldo turning up to the show. I think in the Champions League episode, I mentioned that, it would probably be a Ronaldo show or something like that. He didn't come up this first leg. He'll most likely turn up the second leg, but I guess we just have to see how everything turns out.
So now let's move on to the more interesting games, we like to say. Let's start with the first one, Sevilla and Dortmund. I can't lie, I watched the first half and then I switched over to the Juventus one. But, Haaland, yeah, he did his thing, man. He did his thing. Bro, the guy's inevitable up front, man. Like, one thing about him is just, like, how accurate his shots are. Like, more time, even if you don't score, he's scaring it. He's at least hitting the target. And another thing, Sancho was cold, Man was saying Foden, all these, man. In my opinion, Sancho is still the best under 21 English talent. What else?
I said I agree.
Yeah. Sancho is a different level, man. But what was our general thoughts on that? Let me start with Ori. What's your thoughts on the Sevilla Dortmund?
I think I predicted Sevilla to win, so I was kind of surprised they didn't. They started the game well, the first goal, but Haaland and Sancho, different gravy. They just, completely turned the game around. Haaland has such a presence in the box, and like his movements are very good. He just plays he plays unorthodoxly, but like, it kind of works. It's kind of hard to explain how he plays per se, but he just has that presence and that figure when he moves around. He got his 2 goals. Sancho was good as well. They work very well together as well, Haaland and Sancho. Sevilla just couldn't, contain them in the game. And I think just individual, brilliance. It ended 3-2, so the game is still in the balance. Sevilla could still probably go through. But I guess we'll just have to see. But like George said earlier, Sancho, really, really quality player. I actually do think, in my opinion, that he's the closest to Mbappe in terms of like, young players currently. A lot of people, I saw a lot of people in the media say, Mbappe, Haaland. But, I actually do think Sancho is closer than Haaland is to Mbappe. But yeah.
I heard it. One thing about Haaland, is that when he's running into the box, he looks a bit scary. I can't lie, bro. He looks scary.
He does look scary. I wouldn't want to defend against him. Nah, he looks really.
You see him and Lukaku, if they're running at you 100 miles per hour, I'm not backing it.
Yeah, you're back.
I don't know. The way his head is just going, like, he looks like a bull in it. He's got the horns and he's ready. Like, nah, he's scary, bro. But yeah, Denzel, what was your thoughts on the game and Haaland basically is the talk of the town?
Yeah, Haaland, I can't lie, I wasn't on the hype train, I'll be honest. Even there's probably a previous episode where I've said I don't want him at United. That guy is rapid. He is fast. I think a lot of people overlook. I didn't realize that until I watched the game. Like, he is fast, and his accuracy, his power. Yeah, he's the truth. I can't lie. I have to give it up to him. Might have to change my take on whether I'd have him at United or not, because of that might have been a whole lot of baby. We'll see what happens. But yeah, he had a good game. I did expect Sevilla to win though. Them losing, they're still in the title, so I expect them to win the second leg and go through. But it was a good performance around from Dortmund.
Sarab?
I think one thing that's really important is like Haaland's movement, his power, his strength, but also his power in his shots. Like, you often see his goals go in as well because of how powerful his shots are. And he seems to get shots off from every single angle in the box as well, which is just crazy. This side is also finally poised as well. I think most of us said that Sevilla would go through only because of Dortmund's league form. Obviously, Luke de Jong came up with trumps again. He's a big game player, so second leg, all to play for. I think they were missing a few players as well. I think Campos didn't play.
Yeah, he was out.
So maybe El Naziri might step it up a bit more again. But I know Dan likes El Naziri.
It's my guy.
Yeah, Dan, what's your thoughts on the game?
I was impressed with Dortmund quite a lot. I was impressed by Haaland. His first goal was very impressive. Like the burst of pace and the dribbling, and then the pass from Sancho was quality. And the Hood scored a great goal as well.
Yeah.
So, but one thing I would say is I think Sevilla were quite underwhelming. I thought that they were going to be better than they were. Defensively, they weren't as strong as I thought. I thought they could have done better. Especially with, there was a lot of eyes on him because obviously there was links with Man United. A lot of people rate him very highly. I think Man City were linked with him previously. So I think people expected a top performance. And conceding 3 goals is not really a good look. Even though they're not all his fault, it's still not the best. I think Luke de Jong gave them a lifeline by scoring in the last, I think, 5 minutes. Because that whole game, I don't think Sevilla looked that good. Especially the second half. I think the second half, they didn't really do much. So I think most of us predicted that Sevilla was going through. But I think it will be a bit difficult in the second leg. I don't know if it's at Dortmund. I don't know if they have to play away.
Sevilla's home.
Oh, is it at Sevilla?
Well, the second leg that you talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Sevilla will
Dortmund?
be home in the second leg. Is it?
No.
This first leg, I think. Wait.
The first leg was
Was
at
Sevilla
Sevilla,
at
innit?
home for the first
No,
leg?
the first leg was in Sevilla.
Yeah, the first leg was in
Yeah.
Sevilla.
So,
Oh,
the
so with
second leg
three-
will be at
so with
Dortmund.
three
So
away
it will
goals.
be a neutral venue. It will be a neutral venue.
Was it neutral?
Yeah, it's not exactly home per se, but yeah.
Yeah, but the away goals, I think 3 away goals is a lot.
The
Of away.
away goal, they would have to score at least 2
They're
goals.
2, yeah.
4.
So that's definitely doable, but it'll be
doable.
difficult, especially with Haaland, Sancho, and
Yeah.
the attacking power that Dortmund have.
Mm-hmm. And moving on to, as I say, leaving the best till last. Barca got ripped, man. They got ripped. And I had some high stocks in some Barca players, and they performed badly. But how do I phrase this? What did we learn from this game, innit? Like, is there anything unexpected that we learned, or was this wasn't that surprising, given how Barcelona have capitulated in previous other big games in the Champions League? Was this result really that surprising, Sarah?
In terms of the result, I think either it was going to be a really, really close game, or one team was just going to completely dominate. We don't need to unlearn the fact that Barca's defense is atrocious, like genuinely atrocious. They rushing back PK, who hasn't played in 4 months or something, 3 months, to play him alongside Longley was, I think, a bad decision. You could tell he was just not off the pace. He's 34 years old now. This just goes back to the original points about him. They're having such an imbalanced squad. It's ridiculous. Obviously, credit to PSG. I think they used the advantages that they know they have. They know that Mbappe is going to absolutely terrorize left backs, right backs, drifting in between the lines. Verratti played a bit further up, which was really, really good to see. And Icardi missed a few big chances. So the scoreline, I think, was actually generous a little bit to Barcelona. But Mbappe, kudos to him. He did really well.
Mm-hmm. Denzel.
We didn't learn anything. Barca have been washed. I expected a PSG win. I don't know if I expected the Mbappe hat trick per se. I expected him to have a good game, but I didn't think he'll drop a hat trick on Messi in his own ground. But yeah, I thought it was a good game, entertaining game. Icardi, like Sarah said, Icardi could have scored a lot more than he did. It could have been easily 6-1, something like that. Scoreline was generous to Barcelona. I think the tie's done. If Messi can pull off a masterclass, then we have to give him his props. But I think possibly this is the last year we'll see Messi in a Barcelona shirt. So yeah, didn't really learn anything new, to be honest.
Mm. What about you, Dan? What's your thoughts?
I think it was more that Barcelona were horrible than PSG were fantastic. I thought Mbappe was quality, but I think the rest of PSG didn't have an exceptionally good game. Like, I think Icardi was horrible, really, really horrible, and I think the Barcelona defense was even worse. They were shocking. Like, even going forward, I think the goal they scored was obviously a penalty, and I know there was a lot of controversy about that penalty because it looked very soft. Questions whether it should have been awarded or not. But Barcelona right now are a shambles, a real shambles, because this PSG team wasn't the strongest that they come up against. PSG are they have some quality players, but if you look at their starting 11, a lot of their starting 11 isn't that good. Like, I mean, their wing backs are a bit average. They're not considered world class. They're not even considered elite. And Moise Keane and Icardi are not considered elite or world class either. And Barcelona got embarrassed really by this team. So I think it's probably better for them to get eliminated early, because if they came up against a genuinely quality team, it would be something like what happened to Bayern, what happened with Bayern last year. And Barcelona right now just need to rebuild and clear out, and for the time being just uh, lower all expectations, because they're nowhere near where they think they are. They are really, really bad.
All right.
Um, I think everyone was more surprised with PSG's performance rather than Barcelona's horrible performance, because everyone quite expected Barcelona not to play too well, but I don't think people expected PSG to play this well. So because PSG also haven't been really good this season. In terms of the Barcelona squad, you know, yeah, they need to completely rebuild. People are saying, Messi could even still stay. I think that should not be a possibility at all. Even if Messi does want to stay, he needs to go, because I don't think the squad can rebuild with Messi still being in the squad. Um, New manager as well. I don't know who they should really go for, but yeah, Koeman is not looking like the one to take them to where they need to be. Yeah, it just completely looks like shambles. I'll personally say their season is over. They're out of the cup. They're 2-0 down in Copa del Rey. They just drew this weekend. So now they're far off from Atletico still, even far behind Real Madrid as well. And they're 4-1 down in Champions League. So the season already looks dusted. So that's quite poor. In terms of PSG, yeah, good performance. Mbappe, my Mbappe stocks always come through because it's a quality player. That gap between the left wing and the center forward position, that's where Mbappe always is, and he knows how to really use that space really well. And Piqué couldn't handle him at all. So um, but you can never put it past PSG. In the Champions League, they can always still mess things up. For I think at the moment they're most likely safe to go on to the quarterfinals. In terms of going on to win it, I wouldn't back them, but anything could happen.
Yeah, so that's the Champions League roundup. Moving on to the Europa League. Let's start with United. Can't lie, always associate that who are like fifth in La Liga, I believe, or sixth. And I mean, you man terrorized them. But yo, Denz, what's your thoughts on that? I know that your opinions on Europa League, but what's your thoughts on the performance and what United can do?
Separating my opinions of Europa League. Just want to say, no one gave us a prayer. No one on this podcast gave us a prayer. Everyone was saying we'll lose. Everyone's saying, "Oh, we have the Spanish curse. We can't beat Spanish teams, etc., etc." Played very well. Really good game. Obviously, Bruno is inevitable, bagging 2 goals. I expected us to win the game. And I think that's the tide done. Yeah, I don't really have too much to say about it. I think performed well, got the result that we needed to progress to the next round. Yeah.
Dan?
No, I have to say I was impressed with United. I think United done well. They done a professional job. I think Sociedad is not a bad team, but I think they played very poorly, and I think that's partially because United made them play poorly. I think Bruno was very good. Rashford, I think, was, even though he missed a big chance at the beginning, I think Rashford was still good. I think even Daniel James was quite good, and I think you could say that even in the league, Daniel James has been good last game against Newcastle. So I definitely expect Man United to go through. I'll happily concede that it was a howler, saying that United will go out. But yeah, I was impressed with United. They done well.
Ori?
Yeah, Real Sociedad were awful. They didn't come to the party at all, which is quite surprising. I don't think they should have started Januzaj. He wasn't really in the game. Silva as well. I feel like a lot of names in the lineup were just name players that haven't really performed this season, but they're playing United, so I don't know, maybe they felt they needed to start some certain players. United were very good, Bruno especially. He he's a really smart player, Bruno. The way he plays and the way there was the first goal, I think there was a bit of commotion, and then the way he dropped back and then he scored the goal, and then the dummy he did for James, where he dummied the ball, got it back, very intelligent play. And I actually do think to some extent Bruno is underrated sometimes, because a lot of people just think he's just a penalty merchant, or he just stats pad and stuff like that. But he actually has a really high IQ, when he does play the game. So yeah, he really impressed me. Yeah, in general, it was just too easy for United. I Sociedad didn't really come or offer anything in the game. So yeah.
Sarah?
I didn't watch the game, but I mean, Sociedad really didn't put up much of a fight, to be honest. I mean, they had more possession, but it's like what I said. They played the big names: Bal, Isaac, Silva, all of them just didn't really perform. I think United were clinical. You can tell Bruno ran the show again, and it's really important to understand that he's not just all about goals and assists. His second assist, his third assist, his build-up play. He's I mean, we're gonna judge him. But a lot of people will judge him because of his goals and assists, but the way he makes other players better and brings players into the game is really an underrated feature.
I don't know about that.
Really, I mean,
no, he's a good passer of the ball. Like, I've seen him. He can create stuff out of nothing, but I don't think he's.
I think he can be wasteful sometimes.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, but I think that comes as part of the role, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As well, like the more he plays, he is the chief creator in that team. There's not
high
really
risk,
anyone else.
Yeah,
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
But even then, I don't see him as mad creative. Like he can create stuff. Like he's capable of creating stuff. I'm not denying that he's creative, but I don't know, man.
But in that team, it's only really him, maybe, and Luke Shaw.
I think Pogba makes chances as well.
When Pogba's playing, yeah. But a lot of it will go through him.
Most of it goes through Bruno, and like Ori said, it's high risk, high reward. Because if he makes a lot of poor passes, people like to neglect the fact that he is actually very creative. So people need to give him the respect he deserves when it comes to that.
A lot of time he shoots from 40 yards though. Like he'll do that 3 or 4 times a game, and it will just go either over the bar or straight to the keeper's hands.
That's him, innit?
Sometimes it's in the back of the net. So
once a season,
high risk, high reward.
It is high risk, high reward. I mean, you can't argue with his numbers, because it's like, even if he's shooting and he isn't scoring, but he is still scoring. So at the end of the day, it's not something where he just took shots and he didn't eventually get some of them right or stuff like that. I mean, his goal tally this season is quite high. So.
Yeah, he does a lot of the good stuff often, which means he's going to have the chance to score or assist.
Yeah, and he always gets himself in the right position. That's what a lot of people do. Because there's some
that's for
positions
the
that
first Sociedad goal. Because the first Sociedad goal, that defending was that was shocking.
exactly
But
that
he was
was
the right place
where
to
he
tap it in.
was. Where he was, that's where you probably expect a striker to be. He's not a striker,
Exactly.
but he got himself in that position and stuff like that. So he's the one. He makes a lot of difference in that United side. But,
He stays very high though. Like his average position is
he
very
does.
high.
He's
like a
really,
striker.
he is like a striker. He's like a second striker essentially. That's how I see him. When he plays.
You know what? You know how Griezmann was back in the day at Atletico? You can kind of Bruno's more of a creative player than Griezmann, but in terms of like the positions that they take, they're very high up.
They are very high up.
Yeah,
around the similar positions. Yeah,
and you gotta give him credit because Martial and Cavani are different types of players and different types of strikers, but the guy was still bagging it. Obviously, you gotta give him credit, but in terms of like as a player, he's all right. He's good, but yeah. Nah.
He's all right.
All right, it's hard.
No, I'm joking. He's a very good player in it, but I do.
He's world class. He's world class.
No,
I'm just gonna say it. He is.
He is world class. He's world class.
I think the way he's playing is world class, but I think for me he has to do it for a bit longer to be world class.
But he's done it he's literally since he's come to Man United, he's been world class. Like he's been here for a whole year, and he's been world class.
Like as Josh has said, and I've adopted now. For me, a player has to do it for 2 years, and then they can be world class.
2 seasons. That's how we say.
Okay, we'll see him do it
because they did it over a consistent long period. You don't do it for just 2 years or a year and then you dip.
But the way he's playing right now is world class. If he continues this, then he will be a world class player.
Yeah, I guess so. I think this time next year we'll be saying he's world class. But I say it now. He's world class.
Probably.
That's definitely reasonable.
Because I have to give a shout out to Max Ross. Obviously, he was telling me about Haaland. He was saying Haaland was world class since last year. He knew about Haaland time ago. So what you're saying, Denz, wasn't wrong. That he probably is world class in it, but it's just a thing of let's just see it in action in it. So the ones there.
But we are seeing it. That's the thing.
Yeah, of course. Just over
and it's consistent. That's the thing.
So yeah. You gotta
respect I think the major problem with why a lot of people don't categorize him is that it's because of his aesthetics
and his big game performance.
And he doesn't quite, fit into the, a lot of the big game performances. I would sometimes say is how Ole and OGS sets up more.
It's not their fault. Like they sit back to defend.
Exactly,
And he needs a lot of the ball.
They're playing for 0-0. So most of the time, although he does, there are some games where he could have done more, obviously, but I'm not going to put, most of the blame on him for, the top 6 performances, because it's obvious to tell that OGS, plays a different type of way when he plays against the top 6 sides. But I do think a lot of things has to do with aesthetics, and he doesn't quite appeal to people the way he plays most of the time. But, I think everybody's different, and a lot of people are not used to seeing this type of player getting, the goals and assists, and but to me, he's world class. Yeah, I would say he's world class.
Hey, you man like to slap it on early. Wait. Let me ask: is Grealish world class?
Grealish.
Yeah.
Grealish is world class.
Yeah.
Okay, no.
Yeah, he is.
You man are.
I think he needs more time.
You know what it is?
He needs time.
Maybe because his name's Jack Grealish and is English, you're not gonna call him world class. If his name is Grealish or whatever.
No, just tell them. Grealish is my favorite player.
I want to know what we actually define as world class, because
bro, for me, it's performing at a very high level
for 2 years,
consistent seasons.
Yeah. That's I think that's the best.
I told Dan, the only exception I ever had with that was Van Dijk, because that season was crazy. There's only a few exceptions. Let's say Mbappe did what he did, where he won the World Cup. So let's say he did his season at Monaco, then he wins the World Cup. I'll put him as world class because you're doing something that's we've barely ever seen in it. You get what I'm saying? Those are the exceptions. But more time, if you're doing like a Bruno where you come in instant impact and you're elevating the team, let me 2 years.
Let me ask.
Grealish is doing this at Villa.
Let's say a player has been performing consistently, then he has a bad run of games for, let's say 2 years, let's even say 3 years. He's off form for 3 years. Does he suddenly become not a world-class player?
He's not playing at world-class
for 2 years.
For 3 years, he's not playing well.
He hasn't played for 2 years. He hasn't played well.
Yeah,
That's not
you probably wouldn't be world class no more.
You wouldn't. No, I
So
don't think
let's
so.
say after those 2 years, he suddenly picks up form and starts playing well again. He's now world class again. Because once you can
Do you have an
do
example?
it, that means
Do
you
you have an
can
example?
still do it. That's what I'm trying to say.
Griezmann.
Is Griezmann playing at a world class level? Though?
Griezmann is playing.
No, he's
well.
not. I don't think
Griezmann
he's
is playing well now.
Is he a
Yeah,
world
he's
class
playing
player?
well,
Then?
but I don't think he's world class.
I feel like with that.
Griezmann
See,
is a world class
not-
player.
See,
He was world-class
you know
at
what?
Atletico,
I actually
not
understand what
at
Ori is
Barca.
saying, and I would still categorize them as a world class because they've shown it before. They went for a dip, and then they've shown it
And
again.
they can. For instance, now, like a lot of people would not call Hazard world class now if I asked them.
I was gonna say Hazard.
Yeah.
Hazard is still a world class
Yeah.
player. There was the game
He's-
recently, that game where he got
Still?
the
Still?
He's
Right now,
washed
he's
now.
not.
Let's not
But
lie.
if
I
he-
disagree. I disagree.
But
Right
if he was
now,
to show
he's
it
not
for
a world class
season,
player in terms of.
I'll
He
classify him
was
as a world class player
world-class
again.
player.
I don't think, to me, I don't think form is.
I know what you mean. Form is temporary, class is permanent.
That's permanent, that's
I
what I'm
agree with
saying.
that.
Yeah.
Definitely, but you have to still perform at that world class
No,
level.
but you have to show that your ability is not just form, and 2 years shows that you're doing it more than it can just be called form. Because obviously, like anyone can go on a fantastic run and where they play well for, I don't know, maybe one season. Like for example, look at Michu. Michu played fantastic for one season, and then after that season he dipped off. I think the thing that Josh was trying to say, correct me if I'm wrong, and how I've taken it is, if you're doing it for 2 years, it's not just form. Like this is your level now. So this is where you can say, yeah, he's world class.
To me, the
Yeah, that's a
conditions.
fair point.
To
That's
me,
a
the
fair point.
conditions in which Bruno has played in have been very like the when he came and compared to now. That's why I would say he came for half a season, and now he's basically essentially played another half the season. But when he started playing, there were fans and all of that. Now there are no fans, so he's basically played in two conditions in 2 seasons, and he isn't changing how he's playing. So to me, yeah, he's already justified the fact that he's world class for me. But
And
yeah,
the reason why I say that as well is because obviously we now know in football nowadays how teams start to figure players out very quickly. We saw Dele Alli a couple years ago, man was on fire. Then obviously it's not really his fault as well because Pochettino was starting to come down as well. It was a kind of a team thing, but you saw how he's now gone off the radar in a sense. So it's just a thing of that. Now with that increased expectation on you as well, can you handle it as well? And another reason why I say Jack Grealish isn't world class, and Dan knows, you have to do it at a big club. I'm sorry. I don't care if you
I don't
play at
agree
Aston
with
Villa.
this though. I know you don't agree.
I don't agree with
I'm
that.
sorry.
I don't agree with that
Because
either.
the level of expectation at United compared to Aston Villa is a totally different ballgame.
No, I agree that there's different.
That's a good point, I'll be honest.
And there's different, like for example, Emi Martinez is a good example. Everyone always says, "Oh, Arsenal sold the wrong keeper," but they don't see when he drops howlers every 3 weeks. So like the expectations are different, and people pick up on your mistakes more often when you're at a bigger club. But that doesn't mean that you can't be playing at a world class level.
Josh, I actually get your point. I
can't classify you as a world class player playing at Aston
of
Villa or.
So you have to play at a big club to be world class.
You have to. I'm sorry.
Even if you're doing the exact same thing.
Because football's a mentality game. It's a big part of mentality. And if you can prove that you can do it in the biggest stages with the biggest expectation where people are saying, no, I expect you to bring it. Let's say, who's a good example? Nah, there's not really.
Wait, can I just say something quickly? So when Leicester had that magical season, they weren't necessarily a big team, but you could say Kante, Vardy, and Mahrez had world-class seasons.
Very good.
Does that mean they're not world-class because they played at a team?
I didn't classify them as world-class.
You didn't classify them as world-class in that season?
No.
So what if a player plays for a good national team and wins the World Cup, but they play for a meaty normal team, and they've just played at the exact same
so they
level
played at a poor level for? Do they play at a poor
club
level?
and country? But they play for a meaty. Huh?
So did they play at a poor level at club level, but then had a great World Cup? So how did they perform for the club?
They play the exact same level, but they play for a meaty club.
So they played at a very high level at the club, innit? And then they won the World Cup.
World Cup.
Mm-hmm. There could be an argument. There could be an argument for it.
See, I don't know if that's consistent though.
No,
because
but there's some things that you have to place higher. So like the World Cup is the biggest arguably the biggest sporting event ever
course,
in the world.
But
So
you
if
can't
your
really
performance-
judge team. But judging team performance on individual players is kind of tricky because just because you play in a good team, it doesn't mean you're good, and just because you play in a bad team doesn't mean you're bad.
I
Like
do hear
Jack
that.
Grealish last year played in a horrible Aston Villa team, but he was still very good.
Yeah.
And other players that have played in good teams have been dreadful.
There's a fair point to that, but for me, I just see like the expectation that is placed on your shoulders playing at a bigger club compared to a smaller club is a totally
Expectations is a good
different.
argument, though.
Is a totally
Expectations is
different.
true.
Essentially, Josh's point is right because of the way we perceive it all, but it's wrong like morally because not every player is going to play for a top team, but they can still outperform their expectations. Like Grealish is the fulcrum of a side, and he does everything for that team essentially.
Yeah. Like without him against Leicester, they looked poor.
Yeah, I hear that. Maybe
He's
at a
only
smaller
missed
team,
one
you just have
game
to
in
do
3
even more.
years, and his impact is unquestionable.
Yeah. No, he's definitely a top quality player, but you know the ones I want to see him do it at a high level. You know the ones there. What's the other game? Oh yeah, Arsenal and Benfica. Before sidetracked. What was our thoughts on the game? Going to our Arsenal correspondence. What were your feelings towards the game, and how do you see the second leg going, Dan?
Do you know what? I think Benfica were very poor. I don't think, apart from the penalty, they didn't have much really. I think Arsenal we were okay, but we didn't take our chances. Aubameyang, very poor, missed a massive chance early on, which I think if he scores that, I think the team is more composed and we probably do better than we did. But going into the second leg, I don't know if I'm confident. Obviously, it's a 1-1, so we're not losing. And obviously, we've got an away goal, so we're still at an advantage. But it's Arsenal, so you know that we're capable of capitulation. We're capable of doing some stupidity, especially in Europe. So we'll have to see. But Benfica, if that's the best that they play, they are shocking. They were very poor. Like, apart from the penalty, they didn't do anything, really. It was a bad display by both teams. I think Sarab said in the prediction video that one of the legs would be very poor quality, and I think that was spot on. This game was not only boring but very poor quality, especially by Arsenal.
Ori, what's your thoughts on the tie and how where do you see it going in the second leg?
In the second leg, I would say we should go through because of Benfica's quality. Because like Dan said, they were quite poor. Something I've noticed, well, not noticed, but for a while this season though, like we do not concede many in games, which is rare coming from an Arsenal side. So I feel like the only way we could actually go further in this competition is by keeping that organization, keeping that shape, not conceding too much, because now maybe we'll just squeeze a 1-0 win, most likely, and then we'll go through. So small results like that is how I feel we could go for. We're not the team to be beating any team in Europa 4-0 like United or 3-0 or stuff like that. Yeah. So attacking wise, we do have a problem which needs to be addressed. But defending were all right. Besides the penalty that was given, we were quite good defensively, but we did find it hard to break them down, which, like I said, needs to be addressed. Aubameyang was quite poor, he's just not been on it this season. But yeah, hopefully we go through to the next round of 16, and we hopefully can build on from there, because I feel like there's not much to be done in the league now. We should kind of focus on trying to bring the Europa League home.
Sarah?
I mean, from what I know from the game, I feel like it was a pretty obviously a drab affair. And we're talking about this after the City games. So with that in mind, I feel like this second leg is probably make or break. I mean, you might as well just go for it, to be honest. I mean, this top 4 looks very, very, very unlikely. Top 6 looks quite unlikely, even though it's quite close still. But I don't know. I don't think you guys will get in. You might as well go for it. individual mistakes have cost you. I think, I don't know. I think what we're seeing more is like the youngsters are getting more games and they're playing a lot more. But are the Willians, are the Pepes, are they meant to be your first team players? Are they meant to be the guys dragging you through this tough period and scoring those goals? Or are we relying on the Emil Smith-Rowes, the Sakas to get us out while Aubameyang's not firing? Again, let's not get it skewed. You guys aren't conceding that many goals, really. I mean, you're making individual mistakes, but genuinely, we've seen that competent defence continue throughout Arteta's reign. Thursday's a big game, whether you guys like it or not.
Yeah, Denzel.
I've got a quick side note, just quickly. They've announced that fans are coming back into the stadium May 17th, so we have something to look forward to there.
Okay.
Back to the topic. I know in my prediction I said Arsenal would lose, but I think they'll go through. I watched them against Man City and they played well. Like, if they play like that against a Benfica side, I feel like they'll go through. So obviously the first leg was pretty boring, but I see Arsenal going through. Don't really have too much more to say about it, but yeah.
And then the whole Tottenham, Rangers, and Leicester in it.
Hey, Josh, before you move on, I want to say Arteta said after the City game that we have a final on Thursday. Can I just put into context? This is the round of 32 of the Europa League. A final is what he called it. If that hasn't showed you how far Arsenal have fallen and how shocking the standards are at our club and that it needs to be addressed, then I don't know what will. A final. This is the round of 32 against Benfica in the Europa League. This is appalling, man.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't even know what to say, to be honest. But yeah, man.
Oh, the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, man. Moving on from the Europa League, let's go into the league. And let me share screen.
Who cares about Tottenham?
You man see this?
Love it.
You see that? Shout out. You know what? Yeah, and I know West Ham fans and Leicester are happy. But let's have a quick dialogue about this. The Premier League, the quality of the Premier League. You're seeing these men, seeing here, seeing there, champions. These men spent 200 M's. Is the quality or the reduction of quality of these teams? I mean, it's basic. There's a reason for this, but how much has the Premier League fallen in quality, would you say, in particularly this season, Sarab?
This is a tough question because I feel like not the quality, but we've seen like the gap between the middling clubs and the top six, so-called, sort of bridge this year, especially. I'm not saying overall, in terms of finances, pulling power, managers, fees, agents, it's always going to be with the top six. This season, we're seeing anomalies develop in teams like Tottenham, Arsenal, not gelling and us setting higher expectations on them, and they're not really coming into fruition. I think teams like Leicester, West Ham, Villa to a certain extent, Everton, they're taking advantage of that. And if there was ever a season to do it, it's this season. There's less, I don't care what people say, there is a little bit less pressure on everybody because you haven't got the fans, and the fans are huge. Like, fans nitpick at everything. But I also just want to give a quick shout out to Leicester, because I'm one of those people who don't think Leicester are as good as they actually are. And a good example of this is Harvey Barnes, Tielemans, and Harvey Barnes and Tielemans are really, and James Maddison, are really proving me wrong that they're not just Jamie Vardy FC. Because I think I've got it written down here, like 11 goals, 8 goals, even 4 goals from Tielemans and 4 assists or something. That is really, really good to see. It's not just on Jamie Vardy's shoulders. Jamie Vardy's got 12 goals and 5 assists, standard stuff for him. But yeah, it's good to see that. Obviously, West Ham, very, very good defensively. Organisation is spot on. We've seen the front four really, really gel and play well. And it's like these teams, they don't fear playing against big sides anymore. They feel like they can have a go. But this is an anomaly, and I feel like next seasons after, it will probably go back to normal.
Mm-mm. Dan, what do you think about the reduction in quality of the Premier League? How steep is the reduction, would you say?
I think from the top 6, it's been massive, because like if we look at it, none of the top 6 have played exceedingly well. Like I remember there was a point at the start of the season where Man City lost to Leicester and everyone said they're finished. Everyone was saying they're poor. I think ESPN even said they should hire Sam Allardyce to sort out the defense because they can't defend apparently.
I remember that. Yeah.
So I don't think any of the top 6 have been good enough. I think Man City have been the best of a bad bunch. They've looked a lot better, but I still don't think they've been even.
They haven't been excellent, which is what people
They
need to
haven't even
understand.
They haven't even been near
Yeah.
how good the Centurions were. They're not even close, and they're considered like to be. They're 10 points clear, and they're better than everyone. So, I think Arsenal and Spurs have been shocking, like really, really shocking. I think Chelsea at one point in the season were shocking. Man United have weathered the storm and got wins where they should get wins, but they've also had a couple bad results. I mean, not getting 1 point against Arsenal against this season is horrible. Losing at home to Sheffield is horrible. Losing at home to Crystal Palace, these aren't good results. But I think as opposed to the quote unquote poor teams doing better, I think Leicester isn't a poor team. Leicester's a good team. So they're not far from where expectations are. I think the myth that Leicester have now joined the Big Six is a bit premature, and to say Leicester have replaced certain teams in the top 6 is a bit of a stinker. But Leicester are a good team. They're a good team. West Ham have done very, very well this season. Results against Spurs was a good result. I think they have, especially with Rice and Souček, I think that's a very solid midfield. I think even though Antonio is very poor aesthetically, players like Bowen, I think Bowen's impressed me quite a lot this season. He's been solid. But as for Villa and Everton are whereabouts you'd expect them. They've been a bit more organised and they've had some good results, like beating Liverpool at Anfield's a massive result, but they've also had poor results, like they lost away to Newcastle, who can't buy a win this season, and other games they've been poor. And Villa have lost 9 games. 9 games is a lot of games to lose at this point in the season. So for them to be 8th is I don't want to say it's lucky. They've been good, very good, but I think the table kind of flatters them a bit because everyone else has been poor. Like none of the top 6 have been good enough. So yeah, I think fans do have something to do with it, because whether you think, believe or not, whether it has an effect or not, Liverpool at Anfield with the fans is a totally different Liverpool. Even Arsenal with the fans at the Emirates. I think 3 seasons ago we lost 1 game at the Emirates. 2 seasons ago we lost 2. Last season we lost 4. I think already we've lost 6 or 7. So that's a massive difference in games lost at the Emirates. So I think fans is definitely affecting it, but teams, especially West Ham, are overperforming massively. So I think they deserve credit.
Denzel, what's your thoughts?
And just quickly, it's really like in some ways it's good that some people would say that West Ham fans aren't in the stadium. It's better for the team.
I've heard that, yeah.
I mean, in some ways I agree with it. But yeah.
Yeah, Denzel, what's your thoughts on the whole thing?
So we're saying the quality of the league has dropped. And
No, the top
teams.
6, the top teams.
The top 6.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Well, we can see it in our points tallies, but I don't think it's just this season. Last season as well, barring Liverpool, the quality was bad. Even the season before that, there was a period in which top 4 was up for grabs, and the teams that were competing for the top 4 were losing games. It was like they were giving the other teams passes. Oh, do you want the top 4 spot? Do you want the top 4 spot? Oh,
Arsenal
we'll lose
lost
this
their
game. We'll
last
lose this
3.
game.
Tottenham lost their last 3.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
United
So
didn't even win their last 5.
For that little bit.
yeah.
But 70 points is
So-
what you'd expect, though, isn't it? From
Yeah.
teams that are in the top 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Burnley
So
that year.
it's
Okay. Sean Dyche.
see, and look, even this season, Yeah, so I think it's been happening for a while now. It's not just this season where the league has, well, the top six has dropped off.
You can say this
It's
was
the
last
past 3
time.
seasons. It's been like this.
You can
Exactly.
say 16,
Look,
17 was
69
when
points. We finished
15,
6th.
16 is also
So-
probably the biggest one as well. I think 15, 16 is quite.
Ooh.
Yeah, that is.
Nah, this season everyone was quite poor.
Yeah.
71 and coming second.
Yeah, that was
is
a poor
shambolic.
season.
Like you did not need to get like look at the points tallies as well.
That is.
Yeah, Ori, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think everyone's basically said it all. The quality has definitely dropped in terms of like Arsenal, Spurs not being able to get into the top 6. Yeah, fans have also played a huge role in that because the absence of fans just make it really, every game just seems like the same game. You can't really tell the difference between home and away. Yeah, City, yeah, like you said, City haven't been really good, but my bad, they've been good, but they haven't been that good as compared to, let's say, the Centurions. But I think this season is really all about form. If you can just get a good run of games together, you're suddenly back in the mix, which in a normal season shouldn't be happening. If you're 15th and you win 5 games, you shouldn't be suddenly closing in on 7th or 6th about that. That's not. But with the way everybody's performing this season, it just seems like anything could still happen. But definitely in terms of quality, it has definitely dropped. People are losing way too many games. The bottom half teams are getting more points than before. Like there were times when there are some games you wouldn't even expect teams to get points. I know everybody did say that the Premier League is an unpredictable league and stuff like that, but like for instance Burnley, Liverpool, like things like that, you wouldn't think at Anfield, you wouldn't think Burnley will be able to get a win, but this season just kind of seems very different. But a lot of people say that City are 10 points clear and other leagues are still look very relatively close. Yeah, for the past 3-4 seasons, there's always been that one team that's always just a bit, better than every other team, which I don't know why that happens, but it's just something that has been happening for a while now. I don't see how we can up the quality because overall it just seems very poor at the moment. But
it's inevitable though that one of the top 6 or 2 of the top 6 aren't going to be as good. I think. And that one team's going to run away with the title, really, because you can't have 4 people, or you can't have 6 people in a title race.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like for the last 3 years, we've seen it drastically change from 2 teams getting nearly 100 points for those 3 years, and then we've just seen bang drop. Before that, 15-16 drop, 14-15, or the one where Chelsea got 93. So we've seen 2 teams do that, and then we've just seen an automatic drop, and we just think everyone's rubbish. But like that's the way it looks like. But really, it's just not.
My take on it is obviously we know the money, as Sarah was saying, smaller teams getting money, they can buy better quality players, and you're seeing with teams like Leeds and stuff, they can attract better quality managers and stuff like that. And you look at the top 6, you got to be honest. 3 of the managers that came in, you wouldn't class them as being capable of mounting a title challenge. Obviously, we'll see with Ollie, but I doubt it. And then obviously Klopp. I mean, Klopp, that's their cycle sort of thing. So, but I mean, Pep and Klopp are really just clear of everybody else. And you can say Jose, But one thing is, you're starting to see with a lot of clubs now, this almost push to get the younger players coming through now. Like, and I think 360 mentioned this a lot. There's other people that mention it, how we've almost skipped a generation. And it seems like that generation I'm kind of talking about is people like Pogba, in that 26, 27 sort of ages of people that are meant to be in their prime now. Because let's be honest, is there many players that are like 25, 26, 27 that are elite? Are there many players?
It's more 30s pluses and then 21s to 24s.
Exactly. There's not many. So you're seeing that. I think that's a massive issue as well, is that the quality of players meant to be in their prime isn't that many, and those that are in their prime, they're not that good. So you're seeing that almost we're in a, how would you say it? You could say a transitional period, or just a void where there's clubs are having to like fast track a lot of young players in, or over rely some young older players, and the older players are just not as good as they once were. So I feel like that's another thing to look at as well. But looking at a team that is, on brilliant form right now, as you mentioned, is Man City. I think that's 18 consecutive wins now. Briefly, like, what do you think they can achieve overall this season? And Sarah.
What they can achieve. I think they all want the UCL, don't they? Let's get one thing straight. They're not as good as what people think they are. Big time, they're not. They're just not conceding goals. They're not going to score 100 goals this year. It's not going to happen.
Wait, sorry. Can I call you quickly? What side in Europe do you think is better than City?
What at the moment?
Yeah.
No. I mean, they're the best side right now, but they're not as like everyone thinks.
You could say Atletico.
Atletico are looking dodgy right now.
But right now it is them. But I'm talking in terms of like, okay, how do I say it? Like, they're like this unbelievable team. Like some people like TalkSport and other people like that. Obviously, we know they're a bit dodgy. The way I wanted to look at it was like, we're starting to see the team sort of evolve from when KDB goes out. We've seen like players like Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, Riyad Mahrez start to like pick up form. And in some ways, this may sound weird, but like, because it's KDB on the pitch, everything, like the Bruno thing, it goes through him. So some of the other players sacrifice their game a little bit, and we've started seeing those other players turn up. Obviously, we know they've got an amazing squad. We know that they can score loads of goals. We know they don't play with a striker. Winning 4 trophies is what we're focusing on here. Carabao Cup looks likely, I think. FA Cup. I mean, FA Cup, they didn't win it last year. But again, he can rotate. He can go for that, probably with a little bit less stress than Champions League. It'd be interesting to see what he does in the Champions League with Gladbach, and if he's going to rotate loads. Because that's the thing, isn't it? Right? Like, if he rotates loads, we think, is he overcomplicating it here, or is he, if he changes the shape and stuff? But like, for example, against Arsenal, like, they just had the ability to just because they knew Tierney and Saka, they were causing them problems, and Cancelo just went back to the right back spot and sorted that issue out for them instead of going into midfield. So they just know how to defend well. Like, when Ruben Dias and John Stones are getting mad at their match performances, it's a changing team. It's an evolving team. So when Ore says, are they the best team right now? They're the best team because they've evolved, and Pep knows how to continue that cycle and change the dynamics of the team going forward.
Yeah, Ori, what's your thoughts on that? Just to bounce off Sarah.
Looking, they should probably be obviously targeting those 4 trophies this season. Obviously, Champions League is the most important one. And everyone knows when Pep gets to those stages, he starts to overcomplicate things from himself. I guess now they should just be looking to always play their strongest squad, which I would say is their squad maybe against Liverpool. Although KDB isn't in that side, so it's a bit tricky because everybody will feel like KDB has to play. Yeah, to some certain extent, I do feel sometimes they do play better without him.
Yeah, I agree.
Sometimes they do play better with him, so it's a bit of I guess KDB isn't even really completely fit, so I would say he should just play the squad he played against Liverpool, against Gladbach, see how it goes, then try and build on from there. But yeah, I don't really see anyone really stopping them in the Champions League. If Pep gets his formation tactics and everything right, and doesn't go and do something that's unexpected and stuff like that. But I feel like this season he would really there's more pressure on him even to win the Champions League, because no one in Europe really looks so strong and so dominant right now. So I think it'll be a huge blow if it doesn't win it. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see.
Denzel.
I think they can challenge for all four. I don't think they'll win all four because obviously I don't think we've seen win all four competitions. But UCL is looking good for them because if they've sorted out the defense, league they've already won that. FA Cup, you never know, there might be a shock where they lose to a team where they shouldn't lose to. But yeah, I think minimum he'll get 2 trophies this year. Yeah, everyone's really said what I was thinking, to be honest. I think the main point is he's fixed the defense. He's got the defenders that he needs to challenge on all fronts. And obviously they have the squad depth to do it. So as long as like Ori said, he doesn't tinker around. Because last year with the UCL, like against Lyon, he played the team that he didn't need to play. Like he should have just stuck to his guns and he probably would have won that time. But because he always has to do this fancy thing where he tries different things and all that. Nah, don't do that. Just stick to what you know. You have a system that's working. If he does that and sticks to it in the Champions League, I don't see why they can't win. But if he goes around tinkering stuff, then could see another mess up. So yeah.
Do you know one other thing as well? Like he shouldn't have to make changes to stop the other team from winning. He causes enough problems to other teams to make them not solve those problems. So why play 3 at the back when Lyon can't win anyway? You know what I mean? Like against Tottenham, against Liverpool in those last 3 years.
Pep's not a simple guy. Pep's not a simple guy.
No, I know.
Yeah, but he's overdoing it sometimes, and that it comes back to bite him. Like he doesn't need to overdo it.
Yeah.
I mean, when it works, he's a genius. When he doesn't, he's an idiot. But Dan, what's your thoughts?
I feel like with Man City, every time they go top of the league, everyone says, can they do the quadruple? It seems to happen every 2 seasons. People ask if they can do the quadruple, and they've never shown that they can. So I'm not saying they can't, but I'd say to people, just hold your horses. Like, don't get too excited because they've been good, but they've not been the best. Like, even the Centurions couldn't do the quadruple, and that's the best City side we've seen. So I don't know if it's definitely not an easy feat. Like, even doing the treble was, I mean, only Man United have done it. So it's not an easy feat to do. And even, so I think we're all in agreement that they've won the league. So the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup are there for the taking. But I still think people are counting out Spurs in that Carabao Cup final. People need to remember that Jose, say what you want about him, he has no problems with putting 9 defenders on the pitch and stinking up the park just to get a 1-0 result. And I don't think you can count him out, because you can say what you want about him. He wins trophies and he knows how to win trophies. So this because Spurs I think the last time Spurs got to the final was like 5 years ago against Chelsea. Am I right?
Is it the Carabao Cup?
Yeah, Carabao Cup. Yeah, they got to Chelsea.
So Spurs haven't got to a final for half a decade now, and he's got them to a final in his first full season.
I remember
so he clearly
Champions
knows.
League. Champions League.
I'm forgetting. Yeah. Champions League. But I mean, Spurs haven't got to a domestic final anyway. For half a decade now, and Jose's got them to the Carabao Cup, so he clearly knows what he's doing, and he's no fool. As he said himself, his coaching skills are second to none in the world. So we'll see how he does, and I'll be interested to see if he can beat Pep. But as for the Champions League, Pep, I think everyone said it before, Pep just needs to not really meddle with his tactics too much. That being said, it is tricky because you do have to be pragmatic to a certain extent, considering who you're playing. But it does look like they are a favorite, because a lot of the heavy hitters in Europe, or the stereotypical heavy hitters in Europe, haven't been good this season. Like Barcelona and Real Madrid both stink. Juventus have been poor this season. Bayern Munich haven't been as strong. I mean, they just lost at the weekend to Frankfurt. So Man City, it's a good chance, it's a good opportunity for them to win it, but it's all in their hands ultimately. And I think, as was said previously, they've not been as good as people make out. So they'll do very, very well to even to get a domestic treble. They'll do very, very well. But I don't know if I can see them winning the quadruple, if I'm being totally honest.
Moving on to our final topic, I wanted to talk about obviously the relegation battle, but the team I really wanted to talk about in particular was Fulham, innit? Because obviously me and Dan have watched Fulham quite a bit this season. Especially of late, we've been really impressed with Scott Parker. Obviously, I've only conceded 32 goals. That's actually quite good, you know. Bro,
That's quite
Yeah.
good. That's quite good.
Exactly. Obviously at the start, people weren't really respecting him that highly, but he's actually done his thing over the last couple months where they actually look a lot more solid. But what we're saying for the relegation battle is, I mean, it's only 3 points, but I mean, in the relegation battles, that's quite difficult to get, it seems. But who's our favourite to go down? I think we can accept that Sheffield and West Brom are pretty much doomed. But yeah, Sarah, who's your favourite to go down out of? I'd probably say up to Brighton, probably.
Like, this is weird because I enjoy Fulham the way they play. I like them a lot. I think Newcastle are atrocious. Like, genuinely speaking, and this is going to sound a bit weird, but like the quality of players that Newcastle really have, they shouldn't really be down there. And Bruce is just like,
I mean, their players aren't that good.
Nah,
They got Dwight Gale and Andy Carroll. Dwight Gale and Andy Carroll are
They don't play them. They don't play them that much.
They come off the bench most games.
I think Callum Wilson's injured now as well, so that's going to be a big issue for them. But I think Newcastle could be in big trouble. I think they've lost 8 of their last 10 games. They're picking up the odd win here and there, but their performances, they are rubbish, genuinely rubbish. Like in some cases, and I'm going to stick up for Chris Wilder here, they play worse football than Sheffield United. Like,
they have been quite horrible.
I've been telling you, Steve Bruce is the worst manager in the league. I don't care. I would say it.
Yeah,
Chris Wilder's been warning about that little bit of quality that he wants, all right, in his interviews. They've been getting unlucky. But why did Newcastle get lucky?
No, I don't think Sheffield have been bad.
Sheffield have had it very rough. Like.
Sheffield can't score.
They should have had a penalty against Fulham.
The thing with Sheffield is that they don't get embarrassed though.
They have the worst strike force ever made in the Premier League.
Sheffield don't get embarrassed. That's the thing.
They always have one goal a game.
Yeah, it's actually true. They lack quality in especially in the attacking areas. But
their attack is they've got the 5 worst attackers I've ever seen in a team.
I feel like it would be Newcastle that eventually go. Actually,
I agree.
But I feel like we all said that the bottom 3 were done. I think we said that the bottom 3 were done at one point.
No, I think Carragher said that he was more confident of Fulham going down than he was of Liverpool winning the league. And he said that Liverpool would definitely win in the league. So Fulham, I remember at the start.
Fulham really impressed me, actually, with, I think they really just turned it around this season, honestly, because a lot of people just said they were done and dusted. But yeah, I actually do think in terms of who has a better squad between Newcastle and Fulham, I think you'd have to say Fulham.
You might actually, yeah. As a squad, I would say, yeah, actually, yeah.
Mitrovic can't get a game. So,
I mean,
and isn't Manager banging in the goals now?
Yeah. Sunderland documentary legend.
Should have gone to West Ham.
That would have been a good option, to be honest.
Yeah.
Fulham just don't win though. That was their problem. Fulham play well, but they don't win. Like against Chelsea, for example, when Fulham played Chelsea, they were better than Chelsea for the majority of the game. They went a man down before half time, and they still should have beat Chelsea, and they came away with nothing.
They had a really good chance that they missed, I think.
Exactly, and against Spurs as well. Against Spurs, they were better than Spurs, but they came away with a draw when they should have won.
Even against us, they probably should have won.
I think the unluckiest team out of all that bunch is probably Brighton.
Brighton are good as well. Look at Brighton. They've only conceded 30 goals as well. Their defense is solid, but they don't score.
Brighton are so unlucky because they do not have any quality finishes. They create so many chances, and they actually play very well. They play probably the best out of.
Don't you remember Dan against Aston Villa where you're saying Martinez just completely stopped them?
Yeah, March and Morpace.
Martinez made about 9 saves or 10 saves. I mean, it was quite. They need, if Brighton had the quality striker, they'd probably be closing in on that. Maybe 11th, top half of the table, even maybe, because they've had so many. Even the Spurs game, they beat Spurs, but there was a chance that they had that was they could have killed the game. They didn't. Stuff like that. They've had it so hard, bad this season in terms of misses and stuff like that.
They had some injuries as well, I think. They missed
Newcastle definitely played the worst football, I would say. Yeah. I feel like they would go.
Let me bring in Denzel because we need to wrap up quickly, innit? Denzel, who's your favourite to go down out of these, man?
I think Newcastle's going down. Yeah. At the beginning of the season, I would have said Fulham were destined to go down because of even them getting promoted. I don't think people expected them to get promoted into the league. So people just automatically assume that they'll go down straight away. People don't really rate Scott Parker that much. I didn't really rate him that much, to be honest. But it seems now at this point in time they're picking up results. Like you guys were saying, they're drawing though. That's the thing. They're not winning games. They're just drawing a lot. But Newcastle, yeah, like you guys are saying, they stink. They have good players, I guess. Like on paper, they're decent players, but as a team, they're whack. So probably Newcastle to go down because they lose more games than Fulham do. Fulham are at least they're getting points. But yeah, I think it's Newcastle.
This way, it's better for the league if Fulham stay up.
Yeah, I think everyone likes the way Fulham play because Fulham actually try and play. Newcastle just stink it up.
Couple shout outs for Fulham players. I like Harrison Reed a lot. I like Harrison Reed, man. He's a nice
and
tidy footballer. Lookman as well. And Tosin, I rate them. But anyway, actually,
Gisa.
We don't have that much time left, but quickly, who's our stars and the Wallers of the week? Before we close out. Anybody, just say your names. Obviously, I think the star, obviously,
Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah.
Kylian Mbappe.
Underrated one was Marquinhos and Ray. Obviously, yeah. Shout them out.
Eunice, who plays in midfield for, is it Hertha? Not Hertha. Eintracht. Yeah. He was, from what I saw from the highlights, because I didn't watch any of the game. This guy was all over the place. And I saw his stats afterwards. Like, he was creating everything. He was running with the ball. He scored a really good goal. Like, yeah, maybe when we might see the Eintracht Frankfurt 2 years ago.
I've got 2 stars that are a bit left field. Even though I think they're trash players, I've criticised them. They were quality against Liverpool. Pickford and Tom Davies. As players, they stink, but their performance was quality against Liverpool.
Definitely, man. Any other shout outs before we close up?
Lukaku, obviously.
Lukaku. That's his third goal.
Yeah.
Nah, salute to you.
You know what? That win is is so. I don't think you understand how huge it would be if Lukaku could get the title with Inter, because Juve have dominated that league for so long. I think it's been 9 or 10 years.
Yeah, 9. Like they're 9 in a row.
Since 10, 11.
That's that's madness, and with Ronaldo in the squad as well, it will be it would be something really huge in terms of his legacy in the game, to stop that Juventus dominance. So yeah, it would be quite good if he could get that, and he's leading scorer as well now. So he could also get the golden boot as well with that. That would be very
for real, man. Shout out Lukaku, did his thing. Shout out the podcast as well, man. Come on, you man, keep commenting, keep subscribing, keep liking, share with your friends. Obviously, all the socials and the description below. But that's it for this week, you man. Stay blessed, and we'll see you again.